After their 5-game winning streak, the Rangers have finally convinced Chris Young that they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline. But who exactly are they going to be buying? We'll talk about all that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into the Mariners making a trade, setting the trade market, 5 targets and the hitting market the Rangers could go for at this trade deadline, and of course the Rangers being on a 5-game winning streak. This episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Now, I set forth 5 goals for the Rangers to accomplish to make sure that they make the playoffs in the second half, and goal number 1 has already been achieved. The Rangers have gone on a winning streak. They have convinced Chris Young that no, we are not going to be sellers at the trade deadline. That is not going to happen. This team is going to be buyers. Now, they might still be partial sellers, but the important thing is the Rangers have done enough to get themselves in the legitimate mix for the AL West crown. They are now 2.5 games back of the Astros, just a game and a half back of the Mariners for second place in the AL West, and this team is officially on a hot streak, winning 4 in a row, a mop of the Chicago White Sox. In case you did not know, the term for a 4-game sweep is definitively now called a mop. A 3-game sweep is just a sweep. A 2-game sweep is a dusting. This is per the Cespedes Family Barbacast. Love the term mop. The Rangers also won the final game of that series against the Orioles. They are on a season-high 5-game winning streak, and even though 4 of those 5 wins came in the 1-run variety, still, wins are wins, and this team needs every single one that it can get. Going on this 5-game winning streak has gotten them in the thick of things, so it's not that they don't still have to win pretty much every game, but it's not as much of the do-or-die pressure as it seemed like coming out of the break, especially when you lose those first 2 games coming out of the break, and you're on the verge of being sellers at the deadline. Now the Rangers are in the thick of things. Seattle has been just tumbling in a death spiral the last month and a half. The Astros were incredibly hot heading into the All-Star break, has been less so this week, especially losing 2 out of 3 against the A's, bringing the Rangers back into contention. That pressure is still on, but it is not immediately do or die every single night as much for the Rangers. But in yesterday's win, the Rangers got a gem of a performance from Max Scherzer. Shocking that one of the best pitchers in the history of the sport is still decent despite a couple of injuries. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And now, 10th place in the all-time MLB strikeout leaderboard list is Max freaking Scherzer. But, of course, Max Scherzer didn't really care about that at all. All he cared about was the win. Very typical Max Scherzer. Talking about it afterwards, saying, yeah, that's nice. Me and Verlander are going to ping-pong back and forth over this a few times. He passed Justin Verlander, his former teammate, who has been on the IL for some time. I think they will definitely be ping-ponging back and forth, at least through the end of this season, probably next season. Who knows how much longer each of them have in their careers. Scherzer is going to be a free agent after this year. Who knows exactly where he'll be, but he is just concerned with that W, winning a World Series. He's done it twice now. He's been hurt both times in the World Series that he's pitched in. He pitched a little bit better in 2019 with the Nationals to win his first ring. Pitched okay for the Rangers in 2023, but he wants to be a big part of a Rangers back-to-back championship. That is all he's concerned about. I'm concerned with the 20 whiffs, concerned in a good way, and really concerned in a good way that he said this was him feeling a little bit more like he's back into midseason form. And the fact that he was getting better as he went along, he said that's kind of a sign that, hey, you deal with some dead arm in the build-up stages of any season, which usually the build-up occurs in spring training, because his spring training was not happening until he was rehabbing in April and then paused and then rehabbing in May again. It's taking him some time to, build that up. And after his last start out where he just got shelled by the Orioles and only went 2 innings, you thought, okay, he dealt with a little bit of arm fatigue after that last start. This start, not dealing with that, getting better as it went on. I know it's just the Chicago White Sox, probably the worst lineup in baseball. Maybe it's the Marlins, but this is one of the worst lineups in baseball. But it doesn't matter. Went 6 strong innings. The Rangers were able to get the win in this 1-run game, despite the offense doing not much with runners in scoring position. A lot of balls hit hard, a lot of offense that I think was left on the table. Just 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. 8 runners left on base. The 2 runs, that was enough. Marcus Semien homer and an RBI ground out from Leody Taveras. That was enough. This team is winning games at the right time. And Marcus Semien, by the way, is on an absolute heater. In his last 15 games, he's got a 1063 OPS with 4 home runs. Getting his bat hot is absolutely huge. Getting every single bat for this team hot is absolutely huge, because the Rangers could still use some help in their offense. And they might just get it at the trade deadline. Last night, the Rangers were not the ones to make a big move in the AL West. That was the Seattle Mariners kind of setting the trade market by making a move for Randy Arozarena. Seattle just placed their 2 best hitters last season on the IL in Julio Rodriguez and their shortstop, J.P. Crawford. Both of those guys not having very good years so far, but the offense has been just abysmal for the Mariners this year. They needed to make a move. Randy started off the year incredibly ice cold. He's been pretty darn hot for the last, about 60 days or so. So maybe that's the spark they need. I think feels a little bit like a move of desperation. I was surprised on how light the return is. There is still a player to be named later. I'll get more into the actual trade package later on in this show, but the arms race is here. But the fact that Ken Rosenthal said that the Rangers are not going to be sellers at the deadline, they are going to be adding at the trade deadline, gives me great confidence in this team. And there are quite a few guys that the Rangers could make moves for, because this lineup is so set in stone. I thought was so set in stone heading into this year. I didn't see the massive underperformance from so many guys all up and down this lineup. I didn't see Evan Carter getting hurt for a large stretch of time. I didn't see Josh Young missing the vast majority of the season. I didn't see Josh Smith having the year that he was going to have. But still, there are some places in this lineup where the Rangers could make some improvements. And I also didn't see the pitching staff being this darn good. I thought that, the trade deadline, I thought the Rangers would be pretty quiet at the trade deadline because, they're getting those arms back. They're getting Malley back at some point, hopefully getting DeGrom back at some point this season. Still no exact timetable on DeGrom. I'll talk a little bit more about my specific expectations for Malley's return later on. But there were a few guys who Ken did link the Rangers to possibly looking at trading for. Isaac Paredes, the third baseman of the Rays. Texas was linked to him, as were the Houston Astros. He is one of the 5 guys I'm going to delve into a little bit deeper here in the second segment of who the Rangers could trade for. They also said that the Rangers might be more inclined to trade away Michael Lorenzen or John Gray, which the fact that they're listing on John Gray I thought was interesting, since he's one of the 3 starters they have under contract for next year. Actually, 3 starters if you're including Dane Dunning. Well, we still don't know for sure about Nathan Eovaldi. He's got to get to that 156 inning mark for that $20 million option to vest. But they know they have Jacob DeGrom. They know they have Tyler Malley under contract next year. So if you're throwing Dane Dunning in there, that's 4 guys. If you're including John Gray as well, the Rangers could move him to the bullpen. I think that's more likely than trading away John Gray. I mean, we'll see what teams are willing to offer. But with Lorenzen, I don't think his stuff plays up nearly as well in the bullpen. He has been, a little bit overperforming his numbers, but if they sold on Lorenzen, I think that would make sense because there are so many desperate teams for just competent starting pitching. And if Malley's coming back soon, or even if you think that Dane Dunning could take that spot in the rotation and be half decent with it, which, by the way, he was activated off the IL, I think it would definitely be prudent for the Rangers to at least listen on what teams would be willing to offer for Michael Lorenzen. Coming up, we're going to talk about exactly what Ken Rosenthal said that the Rangers might be looking for, and some guys who fit that narrative, including maybe the best hitter in baseball right now. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On Rangers is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're even talking about your rival cities. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city. Speaking of rivals, you want to go see the Rangers against Randy Arozarena with the AL West heading down to the line late on in September? Or I guess it's the middle of September. Seattle is a lovely place that time of year. You can go get your tickets and see what accommodations you can get on Booking.com. You can also make a trip to Oakland or LA, where the Rangers finished their season, or I guess technically Anaheim, but you can see that whole area. There's all kinds of great places because, the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or on the Booking.com app. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The second half of baseball is officially underway. We got trade season. We got all kinds of action. Some great games. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all its customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. If you want to get in on some great Rangers back-to-back World Series odds, right now they have the 14th best odds in Major League Baseball to win the World Series, plus 4,800, tied with the Mets. That would be the 17th best odds since they are tied with the Mets. Or if you're thinking that, Wyatt Langford is definitely going to bring home that AL Rookie of the Year right now, he is the favorite at plus 180. Or if you're thinking that, I don't know if the Rangers are going to win the World Series, but I definitely trust them to win the AL West. Right now, they are at plus 500 to win the AL West behind the Astros, minus 145, the Mariners at plus 180. I think those are some half-decent odds for the Rangers, especially want to get in ahead of them possibly making some big old trade. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Now, every year around this time, and also around the winter meetings, Ken Rosenthal has his What I'm Hearing Lately articles. And last night he changed it a little bit after that trade for Seattle came out. He started off leading off by saying that the Rangers are officially no longer going to be sellers. They are going to be buyers at the deadline. He amended it a little bit, but initially in his article, he said the Rangers were looking for a left-handed hitting outfielder, which doesn't super bode well, in my opinion, for Evan Carter's chances to make an impact this year. Or they were looking for a right-handed hitter with even splits. This was before that Randy Rosa traded. And afterwards, he said that the team would like to add another bat. That's all he said, just another bat. No specification on outfielder, lefty, righty, whatever. And he said perhaps a controllable reliever. I don't see them adding a reliever at this point, especially for what a controllable reliever will cost. I am just going to look at the hitters. Now, Isaac Paredes is one who has been linked to the Rangers. I'm not sure if the earlier column had Yandy Diaz as a potential Rangers target, but he did list Yandy Diaz among the available hitters. On Tampa Bay, Ken Rosenthal listed the available hitters as Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lowe, and Isaac Paredes. There are some other guys who maybe the Rangers could target. Nationals obviously shopping Jesse Winker, who is a free agent at the end of this year, a lefty kind of outfielder, more DH that hits righties well. decent on-base numbers. Hasn't had the best time since he has been in Seattle or Milwaukee. When he was with the Reds, he was pretty darn good. I'm not that ecstatic about that move. Lane Thomas has another year of control after this. Mildly interested, not really all that interested. Josh Bell, switch-handed hitting first baseman of the Marlins. Dallas Jesuits' own. Doesn't really move the needle for me. Jazz Chisholm, maybe. I like him. I like his personality. I don't know that it super vibes with the Rangers clubhouse, which is more a bummer for the Rangers clubhouse than anything for me. But he's a very, very talented player. Probably costs a lot to get him. Not sure if the Rangers do it. Also curiously listed a couple of Orioles hitters as available. Not guys who I would kick the tires on, so I don't really want to waste too much time on them. Also, maybe Taylor Ward is a guy the Rangers could look at, but that's not really who I'm thinking of. Let's get to the 5 hitters who I think that the Rangers could target. One more note from Ken's column. He did have earlier a note in there that the Rangers could be one of the teams receiving money from the competitive balance tax, the money that's going in there because of them losing their TV rights. He said they could earn as much to $15 million, but that wasn't in there after the update. Not sure why that was taken out. Maybe that's not the most accurate, but it was just a fun little note that I think really could play into how much the Rangers might be willing to spend if they're getting some of that CBT money instead of being one of the ones that's just paying into it and not getting anything out of it. Just one fun note. Now, let's look at Yandy Diaz, the Rays batting champion from last year, because he decided to sit out the final game of the season. Still totally not bitter about that. Maybe a little bit bitter. But Yandy Diaz is a darn good hitter, plays first base. He's 32 years old. He has got a couple more seasons of team control. He's making $8 million this year, $10 million next year, and $12 million 2026 team option. The overall numbers this year are a bit down from where they have been in his career, especially from where they were last year. He has got an OPS of 726. I still think that he is a little bit better than that. The underlying data definitely likes his numbers to bounce back closer to where he was last year, where he was an MVP candidate. He was one of the best hitters in the league. Last year had a 4.2 baseball reference for, despite not playing defense well and playing it at first base. He was absolutely fantastic last year, and he's a guy who I think the Rangers should definitely target. His pluses is he's a great hitter, complete hitter. It's probably going to cost a little bit less. He's going to be than Nathaniel Lowe, because he's not going to make arbitration money next year. The minuses is that he's not a great defender. He's having a bit of a down year. He has bounced back as of late, making his numbers much, much better after a rough start to the season. In April, March, he had a 570, nearly 580 OPS in those months combined, then 750 in May, 818 in June, and 814 in July. He's been on the restricted list, so he hasn't played in the second half, but last year, he had a 932 OPS where he hit 330, was a 345 hitter, slugging of 500, on base of 400, batting average of 300. Also had a career high 22 home runs and 35 doubles, both of those career highs for him. I think the numbers would stand up well in Texas, in Arlington, and I really, really like that kind of hitter. The minus is he's also not a good defender. It's been a bit of a down year, and he is a little bit on the older side, so he might, start to fall off a little bit. But if he does, that second year of control after this year, it's a team option. So I think he would be a great option. Isaac Paredes, the third baseman, who is 25 years old for the Rays. He's making $3.4 million this year. He's got 3 arbitration years after this. He's an extreme pull hitter, but this year he's having a great year, a 797 OPS, which is much, much better than league average, because the league average has been bad this year. First-time All-Star, a 129 OPS plus for his career in Tampa Bay. He has been 26% better than the league average hitter. He's a legit defender at third base, not a plus one, but a fine defender at third base. Probably be decent at first. He is very much an extreme pull hitter, and if he went to Houston, him playing third base, it would basically be, I feel like, pretty similar to Alex Bregman in that he would hit a crap ton of home runs into those stupid, stinking Crawford boxes. I think he's got some extreme. I know he's got some extreme home and road splits this year. A more than 100. I think it's more than maybe 200 point difference in his OPS at home versus on the road. Again, those pull numbers and the underlying data behind it is not super promising. He doesn't hit the ball super hard, and he doesn't have the kind of bat control that a Marcus Semien or Luis Arias has, that you would think that those numbers are sustainable. So I'm very skeptical. I think it would cost a lot to get him, but he's been very, very good this year. Brandon Lowe, who is 29 this year, he is making $8.75 million this year. He has got club options for 2025 of $10.5 million and $11.5 million in 2026. Missed some time with an oblique injury this year. Brandon Lowe, not Josh Lowe. Josh Lowe, I do not think, is on the trade market for the Tampa Bay Rays. So no Lowe Bros reunion. I think at this point, Lowe has played mostly second base, about 50-something games in the outfield. He would definitely be an outfielder / DH if he went to the Rangers. He is not taking over Marcus Semien's spot. He is not anywhere near the defender there. He hits really well, and this year he is hitting lefties well as a left-handed hitter, which is great. He has got a good approach. He walks a lot, and he hits for legit power. Minuses durability. His career numbers versus lefties aren't great, but he is an overall pretty good hitter. I think it might cost a decent haul to get him, but he's definitely one I think the Rangers will at least be kicking the tires on. Mike Yastrzemski, the outfielder for the San Francisco Giants, is another guy who the Rangers might be kicking the tires on. I at least think he's available. He's 33 years old this year. He's been about 15% better than league average according to his OPS the last couple of years. Plays the corner outfield, making $7.9 million this year. Got another arbitration season next year. And then the final guy on this list, Brent Rooker. 29 years old. He's got 3 arbitration seasons after this year. A 944 OPS this year with the Oakland A's. He has been one of the best hitters in baseball this year. According to OPS Plus, he is a 170 OPS Plus hitter. 70% better than the league average hitter, which is the 4th highest in Major League Baseball. That factors in park factors, which is very important since he plays in Oakland. But the only hitters, according to OPS Plus, that are better than him this year: Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani. That's it. Nobody else. This is a darn good hitter who hits for a lot of power, walks a lot, hits righties and lefties well, can play in the outfield. Not well, but he can play out there. Maybe a move to first base might be the move. Pretty much just DH. The minuses is that he also is, doesn't really have a position. He is just really breaking through this year and last year. He is a little bit on the older side for a guy who is just breaking through, and the strikeout numbers are pretty big. I think it cost a decent package to get him. Coming up, we're going to see why I think the Rangers should definitely make a trade for Brent Rooker, and why I think that could be the difference in them winning the AL West and not. Right after this word from our sponsors. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere in just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Now, last night's move to trade Randy Arozarena to the Seattle Mariners, it really impacts the Rangers in a couple of different ways. One of their rivals ahead of them in the AL West made a big move and is clearly going for it. Despite clearly going through it, I don't think that the Mariners are going to be done, but a deal like this kind of sets the trade market, kind of sets the value on how much these guys are going for. Arozarena has been a consistent hitter, about 15%-ish better than league average in his career, according to OPS Plus. He has been a guy who has gotten on base at a good rate, doesn't really play defense all that well in left field, but can hit for some pop and can be an electric player who, on the big stage, if you remember that 2020 postseason, the guy was absolutely electric. Well, the Mariners have to get there first, and to get there, they need to survive this massive rash of injuries. But he's a pretty cheap player. It was not the kind of package that I thought it would take to get Randy Arozarena. There was some thought that the Rangers might be linked to Randy Arozarena, and maybe that might pull Adolis Garcia out of his shell, having his best friend on the team. But alas, that did not happen. But the trade package that it took to get Randy Arozarena, who has got a couple more seasons of club control after this. He's also making, I believe, about $2.7 million this year. So not a whole lot of money for Randy. So there wasn't a whole lot of incentive for the Rays to have to trade him this year. The other guys making a little bit more money, it makes more sense for the Rays to trade them so they can get down to their ideal payroll, which is zero. But with him just making under $3 million this year and having a couple more ARB seasons left, I thought they'd get more. But all the Mariners traded was outfield prospect Aiden Smith, who's 20 years old and number 12 on MLB Pipeline. He is in low A for them this year. He's doing very well, but he was last year's draft pick. And the fact that he's 20 in low A and number 12 on their prospect list, and so far he is the headliner in this deal. They also gave up right-handed pitching prospect Brody Hopkins, who is 22 years old, a draft pick in the 2023 draft class, also in low A. They also gave up a player to be named later, which I have to assume is going to be the headliner in this deal. The Rays just want a little bit more time to scout whoever they want to pick as their headliner in this deal, I would think. Maybe that's irresponsible to say that that is going to be the headliner, but if this is all it takes, 2 top 30 prospects, maybe Hopkins is up to 20 in some lists, maybe it's 3 top 20 guys, but if that's all it takes for a guy not making that much this year, who has got a track record of being a successful major league hitter and has got 2 more years of club control, I gotta think the Rangers should take this opportunity to buy. Even with so many other hitters under team control for the next couple of years, I think that they've got to at least entertain the possibility of being buyers this year. Because you look up and down their lineup, you've got Corey Seager, who's one of the best hitters in baseball, still having a down year. Josh Smith, who's been incredible. And then the Rangers' third best hitter, according to OPS Plus, is Nathaniel Lowe this year. And I guarantee you, taking out Josh Young for lack of plate appearances, I guarantee you cannot guess the Rangers' 4th best hitter, according to OPS this year. Did you guess Robbie Grossman? If you did, you're a darn liar. You're an absolute liar. But yes, Robbie Grossman, his 87 plate appearances with a 116 OPS plus, is the 4th best on this Rangers roster. Now, Wyatt Langford has been much better as of late. We have also seen some streaks from Adolis Garcia. We have seen Nathaniel Lowe be better. We have seen Jonah Heim show some improvement. Marcus Semien is on an absolute heater. Josh Young is coming back, hopefully, in the near future. By the way, he is starting his rehab assignment in Frisco on Friday. So that is some good news for the Rangers. They are targeting an early August return. So we'll see exactly when he gets back in this lineup. Evan Carter's about a week behind him. But all these guys are locked up under team control for at least another couple seasons. I think Lowe has the least amount of team control. If I'm remembering correctly, he has 2 more seasons after this. Maybe it's 3, because I'm pretty sure this was year 1 of arbitration for Nathaniel Lowe. But still, they need another impact bat. They just do. And I think eventually Wyatt Langford will be an impact bat. I think we'll see some improvement from Marcus Semien to have at least 2 impact bats in the top 2 of your lineup. I think Josh Young is going to be fantastic. I'm hoping he's going to be fantastic when he comes back, but they need another bat. And I think Rooker is going to be that option. Now, this lineup against lefties, ideally, if they make the trade for Rooker, I think maybe you're seeing Rooker in left field. Maybe it's going to be a lot of Josh Smith in left field and Brent Rooker DHing. You'll see Semien, Seager, and then Rooker hitting behind him. And then you'll see probably Langford and maybe in center field with Leote relegated to a bench role, Garcia in right field. I don't know. The Rangers will have some options, some things to consider once they get there. It also gives them some flexibility if, Josh Young struggles a little bit or not having to push Evan Carter to be an everyday player. Maybe they end up optioning Evan Carter because he's not quite ready, or just make him take a long rehab assignment. I'm not entirely sure. But I think that of these 5 hitters, the highest cost is going to be Paredes. Then I think maybe Rooker might be the next most in terms of prospect capital to get him. Then Lowe, then Yandy, then Yastrzemski. My target, my preference for the target, I think Rooker would be my number 1 target. Yandy Diaz probably second. Brandon Lowe third. Yastrzemski fourth, because I don't think he'll make that big of an impact, but I don't think he'll also cost that much either. And then Paredes way down the line, because I think he's going to cost quite a bit. For the Rooker trade package, I was DMing with Jason Burke, former Locked On A's host, and the package that I proposed it looked a little bit something like this. Actually looked exactly like this. It was Echedry Vargas, who I had number 8 in my top 30, Josh Steven at number 12, Dustin Harris, ironically, originally drafted by the A's and traded to the Rangers in a deal that the Rangers absolutely stole from the A's because Mike Minor was not very good for them. And then Abimelec Ortiz, number 26, in my top 30 prospect rankings. It depends on what the player to be named later is for Seattle, of kind of like setting that tone for how much it's going to cost. But I think that might even be an overpay. But again, Rooker is going to be 30 next year. He is going to be going into arbitration. He is just having this year that he has really broken out. Last year he was pretty darn good as well. But I think he would be worth the cost. I also don't fear losing a trade with the A's, even though they're a divisional rival, even though I think a lot of those guys are going to be pretty good. I think Rooker is going to be fantastic for several years to come. I don't think that this is by any means just, the A's pulling something out of their butt. This is a legit good hitter. He's been a legit good hitter since he slugged .800 for a season in the SEC in his final year at Mississippi State. I mean, the guy, go look at his college numbers for his senior year. They're absolutely insane. The Rangers, I think, definitely need to make a swing at the deadline. I like the guys that they've got in their lineup. I like this team, obviously this core that won the World Series. Emotional attachment, but they cannot be emotional. They cannot say, oh, we're just fine. These guys will all figure it out. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Adolis Garcia is the biggest question mark in this lineup. If you could move Evan Carter to your everyday center fielder / Wyatt Langford, and then you have a left field of either Josh Smith or Brent Rooker, or maybe one of those guys goes into right field, and if Adolis Garcia doesn't turn it on, I don't know. But giving your team some options and giving them an option like Brent Rooker, I think would make this team from, they're going to scrap around and maybe, just stumble their way into a third wild card to, this is legit juggernaut kind of lineup like you had last year, especially if these guys turn it on. But even if they don't, you need to add somebody. And I think Brent Rooker is absolutely that somebody they should be adding. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. I'm going to be out this weekend in San Diego, so if the Rangers make some big trade, I will try and cobble together maybe something, but I'm going to be with my family celebrating a big family milestone, so probably going to be out of pocket till I get back on Sunday night, so hopefully we can have some news later on next week when I get back. That's going to do it for this week's shows. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.